Hey, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Happy Saturday. I just thought I'd do a spontaneous, you know, shtick here. Um, World events, pop culture events, discussions on different things. I actually kind of gulped down my Mike's meals before I even went on the air. Now, some of you have been expressing your feelings about what I eat, which I appreciate your feedback to an extent. But on some good news, the callback, Sarah Lynn and Nathaniel Lee, they have reached their goal for their crowdfunding. Congratulations on Seed and Spark, the callbackfilm.com. Of course, I interviewed Sarah Lynn and Nathaniel. They're up in Connecticut. I was in Jacksonville at the time. Right now, I'm in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. I'm having a good time here. It's a film festival that I'm at, and I can say this, yesterday, I think I might have just been watching too many films, to be honest with you. If there's such a thing as watching too many movies at a film festival, I probably have done that. Yesterday was kind of a double header of intense films. The first film was an award winning film, but it was pretty hard to watch at some points. It was a film about people suffering from Alzheimer's, and a gentleman who I met because he was here at the festival, but he showed his own movie. It's actually it's an award-winning doc, but it's When All There Is Left Is Love, I believe, is the title. He did a great job with it, but it's hard to watch at some points because I mean he gets pretty raw, I guess is the word. But I guess it's one of those things where this documentary will haunt me, and I think haunt others because you really get inside of the world of people suffering from Alzheimer's. It's not a pretty thing. Interestingly enough, a few hours later, there was other short films, narrative films. One that I had already seen in the festival. It was kind of a replay of a narrative short film about a woman and her father suffering from Alzheimer's. So I was really getting the old Alzheimer's 1-2 punch through film, and it was getting a little bit much, to be honest with you. Then I go and see something that was, I think it was called Border Mission Texas or something, crossing the border or crossing some other documentary about, interestingly enough, given today's top headlines, people that are dying crossing the border. And I guess back in 1993 or 94, the Clinton administration put together these different security measures across the U.S. border, which have kind of forced the people that are trying to migrate, as they say, or enter, however you want to put it, into the country, forcing them all to kind of go to one spot, which is really like a death trap. Like it's all this woods and stuff. And this gentleman is trying to help them by putting up water bottles for their, because a lot of these migrants, or if you call them illegal aliens or migrants, it's colloquialism, a nice way to say the same thing, or mean way to say the same thing, whatever you want to call these people. First of all, they're people coming in from Mexico, but not, doing the legal paperwork. Maybe they feel that they don't have time or whatever. But in any event, a lot of these people are dying because of dehydration, and they might have one jug of water, but when that jug of water runs out that they get from the coyote, as they say, and Trump kind of famous that term in one of those debates, that they're drinking the water that's meant for animals, or not even really good for animals probably either, because they're drinking from these water these water things that are horribly polluted. So it's really a sad story. So at the end of the night, folks, I saw these two movies, and they're both, full length docs. I mean, I was not feeling, just the state of humanity, just kind of, it's like unbelievable. You know what I mean? And I've known for quite some time about Alzheimer's and situations like that. I haven't known so much about what goes on with people trying to cross the border, and it's like a war zone down there. I mean, you've got this militia of guys that have, they're trying to stop these migrants or these illegal aliens from coming in. These guys have kind of put themselves into business, and imagine that they're all 40 and 50-year-old white men who are seeing themselves as like this volunteer border patrol because they're going to do that. Well, it's fine, but I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I guess I see many different perspectives. I really see a lot of different perspectives on it. And I guess one perspective would be, is it worth the risk of these folks coming here uh, through illegal means? I mean, I feel bad for them, but is their lives so bad in Mexico that they feel the need to come here? And if that's the case, why do Americans feel like they need to go to Cancun or Mexico or whatever to vacation and party? I mean, I never quite understood that. If all these folks in Mexico are desperately trying to get to the United States to live, how come Americans often just, oh, we're going to go to Mexico for the weekend, or we're going to go to Mexico for our vacation? I mean, I guess those people are going to these resorts, which I don't know. The whole state of the world is so screwed up that it's just hard to keep up with. So that's that. Now, Shane McKenna has just chimed in. Shane, I'm going to get to your topic in just a moment, but I want to finish up. Or I guess I'm going to open up another whole can of fucking worms. I don't know if you guys have seen this Gabby Petito case. The Gabby Petito case is a young missing woman. She's 22 years old. She was with her boyfriend in Florida, and now they were vacationing together, cross-country trip with this guy, and now the guy the guy returned from the trip in her van without her. So it's the Gabby Petito case. The guy's name is Brian something. He came back and apparently was back for 10 days before his family called the authorities and said that Gabby was not with him and Gabby's missing. So for whatever reason, my whole YouTube and Twitter exploded last night. And I don't know what to say. So it's very exciting in a bad way. It's a case. I said exciting because I get distracted by somebody on the comments here, but basically it's very very bad story, but it's also like a very publicized story. Like there's been other missing cases. I mean, I remember this is in the late 90s, there was a missing woman case. Well, I'm not joining in on the search, Adam. You joining in on the search? It's happening in Venice, Florida, about 40 minutes up the road from Fort Myers. If you're talking about a Gabby Petito case, I've got my own things to do. Adam, I'm not making fun of the case. I did want to say this, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to this young woman or her family, obviously, but I just saw two movies yesterday is my point here, right? The Alzheimer's movie, people dying, people getting Alzheimer's, families, caretakers, like spouses becoming caretakers, and all this horrible shit with this Alzheimer's. Then I watched this border movie about people trying to cross the border into the United States, dying left and right, bodies, carcasses of human fucking beings all over Texas. Yet the world stops in its fucking tracks for one young white woman. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds crass and insensitive, but I'm just telling you, yesterday I saw two documentaries about real people dying left and fucking right, people from Alzheimer's, and then the other doc about people crossing the border. Yet what gets all this publicity is, one social media, YouTube girl and her boyfriend had a fight, and who knows what the fuck happened. I have my thoughts, I have my speculations, but you know what I mean? The world stops in its tracks because the little blonde girl is missing. What the fuck? I mean, it's an important story, and it's, if I were her parents or her stepfather, who's very vocal, sure, it would be a big deal. But just kind of like, what's the case? The little from the '90s, Ramsey, the fucking little girl from the '90s that people think is Katy Perry. Look into that story. Joan Renee Ramsey. We get so caught up in these one person stories, yet there's thousands of people dying every fucking day. Every day there's people dying on the border, people dying from disease. You can go to your local hospital and find a cancer ward if you wanted to. And I just wonder, why do some people's lives seem to have a higher value than others in our pop culture water cooler discussions? How come, and maybe, I don't know. It just is. I mean, maybe because she had a social media following or she was starting to. And it's a scary case. And look, she looks like a nice girl. I mean, in this video where she's pulled over by the police, it's scary. It's god awful. Anyway, Adam, I don't know if you actually are doing this search thing, but I hope she does come home in one piece. I hope that it was all a misunderstanding. But to be honest with you, if she's been missing since late August, this is not looking good. This is September 18th, right? So it's a sad state. Bailey Max chiming in. Nice of you to make these videos. Excited to hear your take on wrestling. Thanks, Bailey. And so here we go. And Shane McKenna did request. So I'm going to segue, folks, into wrestling. This is going to be the third time I've taken on the topic of Dark Side of the Ring episode, Plane Ride from Hell. For non-wrestling fans, it is an interesting story. If you find the Dark Side of the Ring Plane Ride from Hell episode, if you have Vice Network or if you have YouTube, people have bootlegged it left and right by now. The reason why my phone died the other day, folks, is because it was overheated. I am in Florida, so it's hot. So I just took my phone out of harm's way. So hopefully we won't get any problems this time. So Dark Side of the Ring. Shane, you did have a question earlier. I'm trying to address that. Damn, Adam's getting stiff. Adam's hardcore, man. Shit. Well, bro, I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know, but it's a sad story, and I hope to be honest, though, 3 weeks is a long time, especially for people in the USA now. Yeah, Eric, I did see the screenshot. Eric chimed in that, okay, Dark Side of the Ring, breaking news. Eric shared from a Vince Russo group that someone in a Vince Russo Facebook group, I believe, shared that the lady who was on Dark Side of the Ring, what's her name again, Eric? Was it Heidi something? Apparently, in her life, she has been convicted of was it jewelry theft? And they had a picture of her and her husband. I can't go back to the screenshot once I'm doing the stream. That's the problem, buddy. So Eric, I don't know if you can give me that information and just type it up here. But Heidi Doyle, thanks, buddy. Heidi Doyle, who was the talking head lady, the stewardess on that Dark Side of the Ring. She was the one making all the accusations against Ric Flair, against Goldust, taking over the microphone, although she was sympathetic to him, against Scott Hall, grabbing her by the shirt, popping open some buttons. But apparently, according to this screenshot that Eric shared with me, and I can't vouch for this being true or not, so don't take my word for it. Just look up the screenshot, or look up the meme or whatever the fuck. This woman's been convicted of $1,000 jewelry arrest. Now here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing, Eric. Do we discredit someone's testimony or someone's story based on their prior conviction in some other matter? Eric says he can't vouch either. So my point is, even if she was convicted, even if this lady Heidi Doyle was convicted of burglary, of jewelry theft, if that's true, if that's accurate, which I don't have the criminal records in front of me or the lack of criminal records in front of me, does that discredit her full story? Reminds me of the Kobe Bryant case from many years ago. Kobe Bryant was accused of rape. They had an out-of-court settlement, and I believe the woman that accused him of rape didn't she have like some test where there was like 4 different sperm samples in her from different gentlemen over the previous days? So people kind of use that to discredit her. Like, okay, well, how can she claim that she was raped by Kobe Bryant if she has all these different sperms in her? It's the court of public opinion versus the court of law. And those two things don't always agree. You know what I mean? Michael Roach chimes in. That show sums up why it's better. Wrestlers play video games and hang out and don't do pills, party, etc. A take that's been coming up a lot. People are remembering the Undertaker's take a few months ago on the modern day wrestlers, saying he preferred the days when men were men, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure what you mean by Jack Black. He's a good actor, not as good as me. But anyway, the Undertaker was saying that the wrestlers were better off when they were tough guys, and people kind of quickly hashtag the Undertaker into oblivion. Oh yeah, it wasn't that great for Bruiser Brody. You know what I mean? And shit like that. So the Undertaker, I think he's just talking about the machismo level or just whatever. It used to be the wild, wild west, and to be honest, I sometimes favor those days and often do. I mean, I don't sit there and watch Xavier Woods play video games and talk about it. I mean, speaking of Xavier Woods, look at his situation with Paige a few years ago. I mean, if that's not 1980s activity, I don't know what is. Uh, so Eric chimes in, hell no, she should have been looked at with decency regardless of her alleged past. Very good, Eric. I agree. So my point is, in saying that, is Heidi's story of this plane situation devalued, discredited, or whatever? Because if she even did have a prior arrest, how many people out there have traffic tickets? I mean, if we want to be, I mean, I have traffic tickets. I don't have speeding tickets, or I don't have that. But if we want to say, well, who doesn't, cast the first stone and all that good shit? The other thing I wanted to say about this, like I said the other day, and Shane's point, I'm trying to get back to Shane's point, if I can remember it for Christ's sake. Shane's point to me was, did the WWE distance themselves? Exactly, Eric. We don't know if she was ever arrested for jewelry theft. And what does jewelry theft have to do with being, sexually groped on a plane? Two different things. And the reality is, if you listen to any of these wrestlers in their shoot interviews talk about Ric Flair, he was always doing that. He was always jumping around naked in the bathrobe, or the wrestling robe. And I just listened to Bruce Pritchard today. And to be honest, I think that there was a couple of plane ride from hell's podcasts with Conrad Thompson. I just looked on YouTube and a few other apps and I couldn't find them. I thought that Conrad Thompson had done a plane ride from hell podcast with both Bruce and with Jim Ross. I just looked and I couldn't find either one. That's right, Shane. I was getting to your question. Did the WWE distance themselves from Ric Flair last month after getting news this documentary was going to launch? Well, here's what we know. Conrad Thompson is really pretty in, by all accounts, with these guys who make the dark side of the ring. I mean, Conrad's hosted shows, he hosts them on the podcast, etc. As we know, Conrad has married Megan Flair, who's, Ric Flair's other daughter, Charlotte's older sister, the non-wrestling member of the family. Now, Megan Flair actually appeared on an episode of Worldwide Wrestling once upon a time. She was like 9 or 10. But Megan Flair pretty much stays out of the public limelight, and she married Conrad Thompson, who does all these podcasts. Conrad often has the Dark Side of the Ring guys on. He's been on Dark Side of the Ring, kind of introducing the show at a round table with them and so forth. So if there was ever a clue in, some people said, I think Shane might have said, or somebody, Bruce Pritchard. Did Bruce Pritchard, stooge out to WWE, meaning Vince McMahon? Hey, look, this Dark Side of the Ring's really going to indict Ric Flair. Given the opportunity, we should distance ourselves. The story we got last month was that Ric Flair asked for his own release from the company, and the company did not hesitate to give it to him. And he was soon at Triple Mania in Mexico. Speaking of Mexico, now people have been saying, well, Ric's going to show up in fucking, AEW. When's he going to show up? And he hasn't showed up. They've had a lot of other surprises. Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, etc. We did see Flair and Marco Stunt doing something together backstage. I'm not sure where that was backstage. The point is, we don't know how this is going to turn out. If this arrest record is used against Heidi in the court of public appeal or court of public opinion, maybe Flair will come back or come into AEW for the first time, or eventually go back to WWE. It would be sad if Ric Flair were to spend his dying days exiled from the wrestling business. Although, like I said in my video prior to this, I think it's sad that Tommy Dreamer is kind of paying for the sins of Ric Flair. Now, granted, Tommy Dreamer kind of buried himself. I don't know if he felt the need to speak up for the boys or for the business or whatever, but the things he said were stupid. And maybe he should have thought twice before he said that stuff, but maybe he just wanted to cause a buzz. Well, the buzz has bit him in the ass because now he's out of Impact Wrestling, which in my opinion is not a big loss to be out of Impact Wrestling, but for Tommy Dreamer, maybe he's depending on that income to, quote, put food on the table for his family. That's all these fucking wrestlers care about, right? If they were to have their way with you in the court of public opinion, they would just say, well, uh, the wrestlers just do whatever they do to put food on the table for their family. Biggest fucking cliche going. Eric, once again, Bruce Pritchard has been rumored to be a yes guy for Vinnie Mac. Good point. Who knows what was said in the unedited cuts? It's getting to be real interesting. I mean, Dreamer, in a sense, in a really obscure way, I don't think he would go this way, but if Dreamer feels like his opinions were edited to make him look like the fall guy or the dumb wrestler or the insensitive guy, could he have a lawsuit for loss of income against Dark Side of the Ring? I would probably say not, because no one put words in his mouth. And that's the risk you take when you're in a documentary talking head. You always have the risk of being misrepresented or looked at in a poor way or being edited to be the bad guy. But to be honest, Tommy said all that shit. Nobody put the words in his fucking mouth. So whether he was trying to speak up for Flair, whether that was his real take on everything, we don't know. But nobody put the words in your mouth, Tommy Dreamer. So, you make your fucking bed and you lie in it. Once again, I'm trying to see did I address this full question, Shane, or not? I'm trying to answer you, buddy. Ric Flair asked for his release. If Vince McMahon had been tipped in that this Dark Side of the Ring thing was going to be very exposing, so to speak, to Ric Flair in his past behavior, it's quite possible that once Flair asked for the release, Vince had no problem giving it to him. Like, he didn't hesitate, in other words. So, who knows? Eric, once again, so just to give Eric's 2 points back to back, who knows what was said in unedited cuts? Exactly. When you edit material, it can change the framework. However, once again, Tommy Dreamer had no gun to his head to say anything. Whatever the payoff was for doing the Dark Side of the Ring episode, it probably was not as much money as he gets for doing Impact Wrestling, especially when Impact Wrestling, doesn't do a whole lot of stuff. They're not on the road 365 days a year or 350 days a year. A movie by my buddy there. God, the heat's bothering me. Who's my pal? Evan Ginsberg, 350 days. So these wrestlers with these abridged schedules are not really putting the time in. It's a different world, folks. It's a different world, and I think the wrestlers have to kind of wake up a little bit. And Dreamer said some things I shook my head at. And this is also the world we're all living in, folks. Things you did 20 years ago or 19 years ago might come back to haunt you these days. So I guess we all have to look into our little skeletons, right? In our closets and see what we can find. So I don't know if I've answered all these questions or not, but I've tried my best. Anyway, what else? Lawrence, good guy, Lawrence. He has a nice wrestling group. Lawrence is Lazo Johnson's pro wrestling group on Facebook. Do you think with wrestlers being you mind? I'm talking to Lawrence. Do you think with wrestlers being role models, the party scene with pro wrestling, like other sports, should be moderated? Well, I guess my first question would be to you, Lawrence, is what other sports moderates the party scene? Is what I'm just asking because I don't know. Do other sports moderate the party scene with their talents? Does the NFL or the NBA and the NHL, do they moderate? I think it's more like, see, that's why pro wrestling is so interesting, because it's not an organized team sport. You have all these vagabonds. Now we can go into the whole thing about Andrew Yang and the independent contractor thing. I'm going to take a little sip here. Now, the other question is, are the wrestlers role models? Well, I think the times the WWE especially tries to position themselves as role models, when they have that be a bully, don't be a, be a star, don't be a bully thing. campaign from 5 or 6 years ago. And I don't know if the wrestlers should be role models at all. Charles Barkley, famous quote, "I am not a role model." Sports Illustrated. When was that? 1988 or 1992? Well said, Mike. The small day payday for Dreamer is peanuts compared to Impact Wrestling Weekly. Right. Big stupid mistake by Tommy Dreamer. Should have said things better. And I questioned in my last video, does this mean that other wrestlers will be reluctant to talk to these shows, specifically Dark Side of the Ring? Did Dark Side of the Ring push the envelope once too many times, and now people are going to be reluctant to say things as revealing as Dreamer said? I agree with it being a social media age. One really should watch what they say exactly. So we're all kind of living in a world, guys and women, where everything we say, everything we do is recorded, it's videotaped, it's analyzed. Give credit to Conrad Thompson again. He uses that term, the gotcha society. Um, I mean, that's why probably I was talking before about this Gabby, sorry to get her name wrong, Pedero, Gabby, the young missing lady. Probably part of the reason why it's such a furor or a big story is because she had a social media account. And I don't know if her YouTube page with this boyfriend she had is still up and available. Who knows? I mean, in some bizarre way, not to say that this did happen, I'm not speculating, but wouldn't it be interesting if there was a case where someone disappeared, like a social media influencer disappeared, and it was all just a ruse to get more subscriptions and views? You know what I mean? Fuck. Maybe I'll do that. So if you ever don't see me for a while, don't worry. I'm probably just faking my own disappearance for views. I'm just kidding, by the way. So any fucking way. I don't know, guys. It's just a crazy world we're in. It's a world where once a fucking den. I go to these movies yesterday and try to put a fucking bandana on this head case story, but I go to the fucking movie yesterday. The movies, film festival, and you got to remember at film festivals, you're always going to get like the hardcore deep films. You're not going to get like Seth Rogen comedy from 2005. You know what I mean? So I'm watching fucking people die from Alzheimer's. I'm watching fucking people die at the border, and like they're showing fucking skulls and bodies and holy shit. And then I get home to my little Airbnb for the week, and I see all this thing about this missing girl. And like I said, I'm not trying to dismiss or be dismissive of the case, but it just brings to my mind, why do we care so much about certain cases but not care so much about others? And someone cared enough in this documentary about the border to make a story about some of these people that died at the border. And there's this university in Texas or whatever that's studying the bones of dead migrants. They call them migrants, which I guess is polite. Someone else would say illegal aliens. You know what I mean? Or whatever, refugees, whatever you want to call it. But once again, I go back to that same thing. Why do we vacation in Mexico when these people are fleeing from Mexico? I don't get it. In Australia, NRL Rugby League has had a few media blow-ups, for example, and have started to moderate their party scene. Yeah, Lawrence, this is a great topic. I'm wondering if in Australia, where you're at, apparently, or if you are in Australia, I guess my thing is, Lawrence, when you say that the professional sports moderate the party scene, I guess I'm just not informed about that. What sports are moderating the party scene for their athletes? And isn't it kind of sad that these people have to be moderated like children? Like high school people. You'd think with all their fucking money and supposed talents, you know what I mean? The people pay big money to watch. These assholes would fucking keep themselves in line. But apparently they're not capable of that. So I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? It's just a sad, sick world. And it goes back to my feeling, to be quite honest, that although we all want to change the world, we all want to fucking make everything better. And if I could snap my mighty Mike Messier hand and make the world a better place for you and me, I most certainly would. but oftentimes it doesn't feel like that's possible. Dreamer's comments about Doyle settling for X amount she had wasn't said well. Correct. Tommy used the term payoff or payout. I think he used the term payoff, which it's a settlement, And so I think that Tommy, like most wrestlers, they just take their wrestler lingo and they apply it to the outside world, and it never sounds right because payout has a different term. Like that's what a wrestler does. Like a wrestler gets a payoff, but a payoff, not a payout. A wrestler gets a payoff, but this woman was not a wrestler. You know what I mean? And Terry Runnels even said that if the way they edited it too, Terry Runnels says if she were to have sued every time something happened to her, well, here's the difference, Miss Terry. You're in the wrestling business. You were married to a wrestler. You had an affair with New Jack for years. You are choosing to be with these people, these wrestlers. This airline stewardess didn't, she's doing her job. So you could say, oh, well, she agreed to be the airline stewardess for the wrestlers. Okay, I guess. But, does that subject every single person that bumps into a pro wrestler in real life as you're agreeing to deal with the wrestler? I mean, what I'm getting to the point is these wrestlers live in their own goddamn bubble. They think that the world should subscribe to their wrestling morality or their wrestling behavior ethics. My point is no. The world does not subscribe to you. You have to subscribe to the world. I've seen a ton of posts echoing what Dreamer said. Some fans can be toxic, said Eric. Yeah, and I think that the wrestling fans, Eric, as we know, oftentimes feel the need. They live vicariously through the fucking wrestlers. They feel the need that they have to defend the wrestlers and they have to stick up for the business because they're not doing things on their own. Look, I'm at this goddamn film festival, right? I've got my own thing going. I'm a fucking screenwriter here. I'm doing my own goddamn thing. I don't live and die for these fucking wrestlers, as they don't live and die for me, and they don't live and die for you. So, the fanboy fuckery of it all, which I did do a video called that, the fanboy fuckery. I mean, we just have to agree that we have to live our lives and let these fucks live theirs. I agree. A lot of it is due to the media and the sports companies looking out for themselves due to how the media have been with their blow-ups. Yeah, good point. It's a tough thing. I'm trying to remember if I'm forgetting any points. On a serious note, I'm not trying to diminish or dismiss this young lady's case. Look into this young Florida girl, Gabby. She's missing. I'm in Florida. Look, I don't recognize her. I don't recognize her boyfriend. I've never seen these people in my life. But if you happen to be in Florida, if you happen to be, and I guess the other part of the story that's kind of interesting is they traveled through so many goddamn states. You know what I mean? I think this is going to give pause to people, parents across the world, when their young daughters say, hey, I want to go on a cross-country trip with my boyfriend. I think parents are going to maybe not, maybe go to the bowling alley instead. You know what I mean? I think that, look, the girl was 22. She was legally an adult, but she still looked like a little kid in a lot of ways. She looked very young for her age and just seemed to be in over her head. And I'm telling you, when I watched that video of that dude with the cops, I got a bad feeling about it, to be honest with you. And I know it's what's that term? Hindsight is 2020. I don't blame those fucking cops. That was over a month ago. They were trying to get this. They were trying to separate the couple. And here's the other thing. You ready, folks? I think we sometimes people that have kids, parents, they expect the school system or the police or the authorities. The police have to do their job. Or why didn't the police do this? Well, why the fuck didn't you do what you were supposed to do? Why are we always expecting the police or the schools to parent our kids? We as a society, not as individuals. Why are we always expecting that the school system has to feed my fucking kid? Or the school system has to teach my kid right from wrong? Or the police have to keep my daughter safe? Sorry, assholes. You got to keep your own self safe, and you got to feed your own self, and you got to watch your own back from weirdos. We're close in age, and I agree, especially about armchair bookers when such and such talents could give a crap less and be turned off by their fanboy toxicity. Well, take a look at Dolph Ziggler. I mean, if there was ever a fucking wrestler who the fans care more about his career than he cares about himself, it's Dolph fucking Ziggler. He's been on the same fucking WWE mid card status for 20 fucking years or 15 years. He had a small run, not with the WWE world title, but with that fucking SmackDown World Heavyweight title. He's not a former WWE champion. He's the former WHC champion, which is meaningless. And there you fucking go. So, I mean, the wrestling fans get too fucking worked up. I know that the Suzuki incident was very funny, all those Twitter things and so forth. So, anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap this goddamn thing up. I'm going to call it a fucking day. I have things to do. I've worked myself up into a tizzy as usual, and I'm going to get going. But I appreciate you checking in. If, like I said, all seriousness, if you know about this Cody, this lady, whatever, the fucking Gabby, look up the story on YouTube, share it on social media. Maybe she's still alive somewhere. Who the fuck knows? I hope she is, but it's a sad story, and I think parents are going to take a second look at who they let their young daughters go off with. So that's what I'm saying. Eric, nice way to end things, buddy. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone. It's still Saturday. You still have half a weekend to kill. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Goodbye.